Welcome to Unleashed. I'm James, joined along with
Andrew Fantasia.
And today we are going to talk about Star Wars because Star Wars is what we talk about on the Rebel Scum podcast,
Sometimes.
YouTube. Yep, sometimes you bring up other things. But this one will be, we're going to talk about the unknown regions of Star Wars because as we all know, the novelization Empire's End ended with the Empire, the remaining factions of the Empire, with Rae Sloane and all.
A very small faction, too.
Very small.
Percentage of what you're used to.
With Emperor Rae Sloane, would you call her at that point?
She would agree. Sloane keeps calling it my empire, empire.
Yep. And Rex kind of says that she could be the Emperor, I believe, too, right?
Yeah, at one point he calls her out on that. I think she's still technically Fleet Admiral when we see her, or Grand Admiral. But yeah, for all we know, she might have changed her name to Supreme Leader.
Leader Rae Sloane Snoke. But they get on the Eclipse and they venture out into the unknown regions, which were being mapped by Emperor Sheev Palpatine, which raises a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Because right now we have a gap where the Empire leaves on the Eclipse to go into unknown space, uncharted territories. We have in Bloodline the beginnings of the First Order and the mentions of the First Order.
Right.
And then we have in The Force Awakens, we have the First Order, which is flat out there, led by Kylo Ren, General Hux, and Supreme Leader Snoke.
And Force Awakens is like their coming out party. Like that was when, First Order became a thing in the galaxy. Yeah.
Even though it seems kind of like it was a thing in the like if you watch the movie as a uneducated fan, it looks like they are just the Empire, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So yeah, it is they're coming out. So the question now is what happens? There is 30 years between the end of Empire's End, the Battle of Jakku, and The Force Awakens, correct?
Yeah, about 29
So we're looking at 24, 25 years around that area between Empire's End and Bloodline.
Yes.
Because Bloodline, the First Order is mentioned, and you kind of see how it's going to start. So the question is, who the hell is the First Order? What happened in the unknown regions of the galaxy? And where are Brendel Hux and Rae Sloane? Because they're very, very important.
Yeah, they're pretty much the leaders of that ship that went out there. They're the ones in charge.
And who is not in Force Awakens? Those two characters. I mean, where are they is a huge question. And where did Snoke come from? And why is Snoke the leader and not these two? So let's start with your thoughts on where those two are.
Ooh, Hux, I think he would probably be dead by now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking just like an old age thing. I mean, he was probably in his late 30s, early 40s when we see him in Empire's End, which puts him, close to his 70s.
Which isn't really that old, actually.
It's not that old, no. But if you're living in a weird, like dog-eat-dog kind of cult like the First Order, maybe they don't want old folks like that. Maybe they just want new, fresh blood. They want strong people. They want young people who can take
Do you think
charge.
his son maybe killed him?
Absolutely. If somebody did, I would not. My first bet would be on Armitage Hux.
Because here's the thing: these characters are very important, Rae Sloane and Hux, but they're important to us. They're not important to the movie-going audience.
That's right.
Because they don't exist to the movie-going audience at all. There's no mention of them, so why even bother? So it's easy to write a book where Brendel Hux is killed. Rae Sloane, on the other hand, you've gone out of your way to make her the new emperor, in her eyes. But the books, those Aftermath books, are very much her stories.
Absolutely, yeah, and not just Aftermath. I mean, we got Rae in A New Dawn, the first book, and when I say Rae, I mean Rae Sloane, not Rae. Rae. I don't know why they named her Rae too. There's
some theories running around there. That we might touch on, we might not. So,
but I'll call her Sloane from now on. But we see Sloane in A New Dawn, which was the first new canon book ever, and then we also see her in the Kanan comic book. She pops up in that. Yep. So they've been very liberal with how much they use Sloane in the extended universe. So was there a character like that in Legends who was just kind of only Legends, but they were everywhere in Legends? Was that like Mary Jade pretty much? Was that the only one who kind of fit that bill?
That's something I couldn't tell you. Maybe somebody out there can let us know. I used to I never tried. I used to stay away from a lot of the Legends books because they didn't connect to anything. That was my problem. Like I read like the Thrawn books and you know, I'd get a gift once in a while that was a Star Wars book. But for the most part, I didn't obsess over it because I knew nothing mattered. And George Lucas came out and he said, well, nothing exists. And then when the prequels came out, like half of that stuff didn't matter anyway. So that's how I felt with the Legends books. But now that everything's connecting, I'm getting way more into reading them all. And now it actually is important. And that's why Rae Sloane is very important in the extended universe, I'll call it. Not the Legends extended universe, but the new extended universe of the books and the comics. Like, she's all over there, but nowhere to be seen in The Force Awakens.
And even though that's the case, it does feel, you're right, it does feel like because of how connected new canon is, it feels like what she's doing is important, even though she's not there for the general audience. Like, to your point, I was also, as a kid, you know, I didn't really drift into the Legends stuff too much. I didn't read the Thrawn novels till like 6 months ago when you told me read the Thrawn novels. I had read maybe like 6 novels total. And when I was a little kid,
but that's because you couldn't read until a couple months ago.
That's right. Yeah, I learned. Brock taught me. As a kid, I was more into like the guidebooks and stuff, like the guide to ships and the guide to characters. And I remember when I would be reading the guide to characters, you know, you'd get to a page and there's like, oh, here's Leia, and then you turn another page and it's like, oh, here's Danik Jericho. And I'm reading about him, and it's like telling me all this stuff that he did in some book somewhere, and I'm like, okay, picture's nice, but now I feel like once I read one of those books 5 years from now for new canon, it's going to be like all those characters are interesting because I'm like, oh, here's Rae Sloane. You know, now there's going to be people out there who just like the movies, and that's fine, and they're going to get to the page with Rae Sloane and be like, neat. But, you know, now me, because I'm invested in the new canon and the new EU, I'm just going to be like, oh, Rae Sloane, let's see all the shit she did that, you know, contributed to the galaxy as we know it.
Yeah, exactly. And so now let's move on a little bit, keeping with Rae Sloane, obviously, is that there is something to Rae Sloane and Snoke. There has to be a connection between Rae Sloane and Snoke, because how do you get from Rae Sloane being A, Snoke being B? I mean, there might be A1, A2, yeah, but let's say A and B. Snoke's there. So what is this connection? And the connection has to come from something that happens with the eclipse, the unknown regions, and what was being charted, and possibly that dark side calling to Emperor and the acolytes of the Beyond. Who let's touch on them a little bit too as well, because like, do you believe they are the Knights of Ren?
The acolytes of Beyond? No, I think that they were their own thing. They were dark side, you know, disciples who didn't necessarily worship the Sith, but they worshipped the idea of using the dark side to become powerful. And what we got of them, we got very little of them in Aftermath, but what we got suggested to me that they were even more of a cult than I believe the First Order is. I see the First Order as a cult more than like a military institution, but I think that the acolytes were just sort of strictly there to preserve the past of the dark side. I mean, their whole thing in Empire's End was taking these Kybers, which I think they were red, right? Were they red, the crystals that they had? That they were returning?
I don't know if it ever said.
Yeah, I don't know if it mentioned the color, but they had these Kybers that they took from Sith lightsabers that they had procured, and they were returning them to a Kyber cave, because that was where they felt they belonged. They should never have been removed from the cave. So they're really strange. I couldn't say what they were up to yet, but I think that they are one of the most direct ties to the Old Republic that we have in new canon so far. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know what they are. At first I thought they were the Knights of Ren. But now I think the Knights of Ren, not Acolytes of the Beyond. I think they have something more to do with the unknown regions, perhaps, and Snoke. And I think it might be more of a Snoke thing with the unknown regions and Knights of Ren, because he christens Ben Solo as Kylo Ren, the leader of the Knights of Ren, which kind of makes me feel like it's something Snoke might even have made up. Like, oh, by the way, you're the leader of the Knights of Ren.
Yeah, that's true.
Because what's Ren?
Yeah, it's like Darth. It's like a title that really has no meaning, but it means something to them.
The only one we know is Kylo.
For now.
For now. Yeah, Acolytes of the Beyond, I would say, are not the Knights of Ren at this point. I always thought they were, and now I don't think they are. But what's the point of bringing them up?
In the Knights of Ren?
Acolytes of the Beyond, sorry.
Oh, in the books.
Yeah, why introduce us to this group? Unless it is what it is, which is just a side story in a book.
It could very well be that. It could be like a mini Rogue One, just like a little side story that ties in a little bit, but has nothing to do with what you're focusing on. Or it could be, a little clue as to what we'll see in the future when we get Old Republic. Who knows?
Do you think Lor Santeca could have been an Acolyte of the Beyond?
I think he was, if anything, he was more of like a Guardian of the Whills or like a Church of the Force, that kind of.
He was. I think he's definitely a Church of the Force. I believe that is written somewhere.
I think you're right. I think it's in the guidebook.
I'm gonna get reamed out for that. I'm pretty sure a guidebook or something like that they mentioned that he's part of the Church of the Force. But I'm just saying, maybe he started somewhere, and that could be the importance of it, because we don't know anything about Lor Santeca either. But we're not talking about Lor Santeca. I got sidetracked with that. Let's go back to Rae Sloane and what she was looking for. So the First Order is a cult in your eyes. She wanted the Empire to grow again. She wanted to surge. She wanted the Empire to be what it is. She wanted to be the Emperor of said Empire.
Right.
And now we don't know what happens to Rae Sloane or Brendel Hux, but we know his son is now General Hux and is very high, a very, very high general. Like, I think he's even past general, because he reports directly to Supreme Leader Snoke.
That's right.
Kylo Ren, which is something you never really saw with Tarkin and Vader. You knew they were equals, but you never saw them both report to the Emperor. Now we've seen them both in the same room as the Emperor. So, do you think the First Order and what we saw on the Eclipse are completely separate entities?
I think that one kind of flows into the other. Like, they're sort of the same entity, just at both ends of a spectrum. Obviously, something happened out there in the unknown regions to A, eliminate Brendel and Sloane from the picture, and B, turn what was left of the Empire into this completely different organization whose goals we don't know yet, besides finding Luke. That's really all we know that Snoke wanted, was to find Luke. So it turned them from this group that was trying to reignite this powerful galactic empire into something that has a much more narrow focus, as far as we know. So for that to happen, for their whole, to go through such a paradigm shift where their whole mission statement changed and became less broad, I think there was at some point a mutiny. Whether it was on the ship or whether they found a planet out there. At some point, Snoke came into the picture with this knowledge that apparently he has of the Emperor and Vader and the Empire in general, and he mutinied against them, maybe knowing that what they wanted wasn't going to work and wasn't important to what he wanted. That's how I see it happening, sort of like a pirate mutiny.
I like that idea. Yeah. Which would have been cool to see in a film.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe we'll get that. Maybe that's a 2020 spin-off.
Woo! Mutiny, a Star Wars.
It's just called Mutiny.
Let me ask you this. One of the first things in new canon that got me really excited for the story they were telling was in Tarkin, when Palpatine has that line that he gives to Vader where he says, that our Empire, this is nothing. This is just so that we can focus on what we're really after. But he never says what we're really after. Is it safe to assume now that it is charting the unknown regions and finding that second galaxy?
Except that, wasn't he charting that because just in case he got taken over here in his galaxy, that he would have another galaxy to go to?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm not 100% sure if that's...
I think that's the right track. It's just because that it's not like, let's take over this galaxy, then we're going to take over this galaxy. It's almost like, we're going to take over this galaxy if this one doesn't work out. So that's what... But then that raises a great question, though. What the hell is Tarkin talking about?
Yeah.
Which it could be, but what Tarkin could be talking about could be this dark whatever that's talking to Palpatine and the Acolytes of the Beyond. How long was the darkness talking to? Was he sensing this darkness, Emperor Palpatine? How long was that going on for?
Right.
We don't know, right?
And he was dead set on finding it. What was Palpatine's intention when he found it? Like, if he knew it was this person named Snoke who lived way out beyond the far reaches of space. What was he planning to do when he met Snoke face to face?
I don't think he knew what it was. I think, actually, you know what, to your talking point, I think something's been calling to him for a long time, and maybe this is the track that you're on. Something's been calling to him for a long time. He's told several people about this, perhaps not Vader. And the idea is, if it doesn't work out here, we'll go here, but we're going to keep ruling a galaxy until we find this end game and whatever it is. Perhaps he didn't even know what it was himself. And he was just like, whatever it is, this is the key to everything. Everything's right here.
Right. It must be... I assumed as soon as I read that passage that it was of cosmic importance, because when you're the emperor of a galaxy, what more do you want or need? So it would have to be something along the lines of whether it's immortality or...
But doesn't he already know
control.
immortality?
I think that was a lie. I think he was just, he's seducing Anakin with his wiles, with his masculine wiles.
Okay, but it's canon.
It's canon now. Those wiles are canon.
Okay, maybe it was... Yeah, if you're already leading a galaxy, what more do you lead? And what more do you need?
Exactly.
Although he was obsessed. He was an obsessive character. We're finding out more and more, right?
Right. That's why I believed when I read it, and I still do, slightly less, but I believed that it was going to be something, an artifact of some kind from the Old Republic days, whether it's in this new galaxy or it's still in the one we're familiar with. But that's something that Star Wars hasn't really done yet that they could, is just this ancient artifact of immeasurable power with the Force, whatever, something that would give Palpatine an advantage where he's like, I never have to worry again. I am going to rule for eons.
For eternity.
Yeah.
Which could be...
the Ark of the Covenant.
Cat Bane does find Indiana Jones' hat. So there you go. Case solved. All right, let's move on to... these are great questions. But we're going to move on to the Whills now, because if anything oversees anything, it is the Whills, correct?
Yes.
So can you just explain quickly to everybody about the Whills?
The Whills started way back in like 75 when Lucas was writing his first script for Star Wars. And back then, the movie was called, it had like a ridiculously long name. It was called Journal of the Whills, Chapter 1, The Adventures of Luke Starkiller, something like that. And the Whills was this sort of like chronicle of galactic history that was, I think, to be revealed that it was being told by R2 at the end of the day. Like R2 was the one saying all this because he's been around the longest. And the Whills were just sort of the historical text that documented what happened in this galaxy far, far away. And now, that was the last you heard of Whills, was that early draft, and then Lucas came to his senses and called it something simpler. And now we haven't heard until the Whills until recently, when it popped up again in Rogue One and it was made canon. And I think now the Whills are...
Well, they were somewhat mentioned in Clone Wars, the priests and all that.
That's right. You're right. I forgot about Clone Wars. Yeah. They were...
but nothing did matter until Rogue One, because thematically is what...
Right.
Anyway.
But yeah, it is... We know it... Like, again, it's still very enigmatic, but we know it's something old. It's something deeply spiritual. Whether or not it has to do with the Force is actually not really a certainty, but it is spiritual. We know Yoda learned from it, and now we know that there are monks who build temples to the Whills, i.e. Baze and Chirrut, and they guard them. And I've always seen the Whills, imagine them anyway, as scrolls. Because I'm like, if you're guarding something, it's got to be something physical, so that I always picture it as... And like paper is not a thing you see in Star Wars very often, so I figured that would give it, the right amount of exotic punch.
Do you think that's where maybe this prophecy of Anakin came from?
Oh, absolutely.
Somebody kind of got wind of this, and there's
yeah.
And that could also be, I think we mentioned a few times, that forestry thing where the first Jedi and first dark side user, Sith, I guess is what they would have been, the boy and the girl, the brother and sister. Have you heard about that?
Oh, the Mortis?
Is that the... No, not the Mortis. I don't think it's Mortis. It goes... No, this is the rumor from The Last Jedi, episode 8, is what it was back then. That Luke is going to tell this flashback story. It's probably not true at all. But I still kind of... I always draw to this for some reason, because I feel there's something to this that I think is correct. I don't think the whole thing is. But anyway, there's a forest tree, and a guy and a girl go there, and it's, I guess, kind of like an Adam and Eve type of thing, except they're brother and sister. And they go to this tree, and the brother kills the sister, goes back, kills his parents, and then disappears or something like that. And then the girl is not dead. She's kind of alive, and then something happens, and she's like the first Jedi. And that brings people's thought is that Rey is a reincarnation of the first Jedi, not of Anakin, not of the chosen one, of the first Jedi. And Snoke could be just the dark side.
So she is the descendant or reincarnation of that girl in that story.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's why I keep getting drawn to that, and I don't think that. I mean, I have no reason to believe it or not to believe it necessarily, but I like it, so I keep getting drawn to it, and I feel like there's something there. It might be not the whole thing, like I said, but there's something to it that I kind of buy into. And I'm probably proven wrong in December. I have no idea. But right now, I like it, and I get drawn to that.
It reminds me of in the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, when they tell the story of the Deathly Hallows, and you see it like that kind of cartoon thing. That's what I'm picturing.
Well, maybe somebody just made it up and because they watched that, that movie. You never know.
I will say this, though. I had it was actually on the way here this morning as I was driving here. I had this revelation about the Whills in regards to the Old Republic and how they could, again, everybody's clamoring for an Old Republic movie, not to beat a dead horse, but the Whills would probably be involved in that. And I had this just very simple thought in my head. I was listening to the Rogue One soundtrack on the way here, and the last track is called Guardians of the Whills Suite. Michael Giacchino composed all of it. And it became my favorite track on the whole soundtrack when I was listening to it, because the way that piece of music sounds, if you've heard it, and you've heard it, right? So you know you're going to know what I'm talking about when I say this, is it sounds exactly like the music that you would hear in a movie like Ben-Hur or the Ten Commandments. It sounds not just epic, but biblical epic. If the Old Republic movies are like that, about the Whills and about like the religion behind the Whills, and turn it into like one of those old biblical epics that like Cecil B. DeMille would make back in the day, I think you have an Old Republic movie.
I agree with that. I think in order to get an Old Republic movie, I think Disney, Lucasfilm has to feel more secure in the franchise past the Skywalkers, which Rogue One was a stepping stone towards, because and they mentioned the Whills. They're doing something, so the Old Republic is not canon, but they keep releasing that game, and which is not canon, but they keep releasing it. Like, why? What are you doing? People like to play it, so you're gonna keep making money, but you're like, but this story, which I feel they could do with any video game. I don't think it should matter. I think they're holding on to something. They've got something in mind for the Old Republic, whether it's a movie, TV show, cartoon. I don't think it's a cartoon, but whatever it is, they have something planned. But they need to feel more secure, and in order for them to feel more secure, we need to know more, and we need to accept more, and
which I think we will.
Yes,
come December.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the Last Jedi is going to tell us a lot, because you don't call a movie The Last Jedi without touching on what the first Jedi was like.
And this is the thing. Everyone's like, the last Jedi is Luke. Oh no, it's plural. It means a billion Jedi. I don't think it's necessarily Luke, or Luke and Rey, or Luke, Rey, and Ben, or like, I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's Jedi as a term.
Yeah.
And this is it. This is the end of your Jedi. And I do think that after 9, they're going to go back and do it Old Republic. I think that's whatever. I do agree with that. I'll say that. Because I think The Last Jedi is not a reference to this or that. I think it is Jedi. A group. This is the last of this group.
Right.
And when The Last Samurai came out, we were like, oh. Well, I guess they were like Tom Cruise's Last Samurai. I guess people were saying that.
I always thought it was Ken Watanabe.
No, I think when it came out, people were like, Tom Cruise's Last Samurai. It's stupid. But I think you're right. But anyway, I'm just saying, who cares? The Last Jedi is going to be awesome. End of discussion.
And if they do make those Guardians of the Whills themed Old Republic movies, I know you're going to disagree with me because you don't like when movies do this most of the time, but I want them to be like 3.5 hours long. I want like big movies. Do it. Do it. Do it. Because I remember you've said on multiple occasions, you're like, a movie doesn't have to be long to tell a great story, and you're absolutely right. It doesn't. You can tell an amazing story in 40 minutes.
Well, what if they did 3 of them? Then they're going to be 2 hours each.
Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. Actually, the extended Lord of the Rings I find more entertaining than the short. But it takes me like 2-3 days to watch them.
I know, but it's worth it. It's worth everything, because as soon as you press play in like minute 1 of Fellowship of the Ring, you're like, I have so much more.
Yeah, but you know what?
beautiful
That's based on books though that are super long. Like if you're doing an Old Republic, Old Republic movie, and you don't need it to be 3.5 hours. Don't just make it 3.5 hours because it's epic.
Don't do it for the sake of
yeah.
But don't limit yourself to the Hollywood standard of 2.5 because that's what people want.
Well, that's what's gonna make you more money too, though.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the trick. But see, I agree. You're gonna make more money with a shorter running time because you're gonna get more, show times in the theaters. But then look at the top 2 movies of all time, Avatar and Titanic. They're both 3 hours long, so it can be done.
Maybe. An Old Republic movie to be in the top 3 movies of all time that's a hard sell.
That's a hard sell. Yeah, I don't expect it to make that kind of green, but it will make the money back. I mean, and like Lord of the Rings made its money back and then some. There's an audience for it already.
All right, speaking of the Old Republic, because that's Old Republic, Rae Sloane. Let's tie these together now.
Okay.
There's something dark calling to the Emperor. Rae Sloane goes on the Eclipse. She goes with a handful of Imperials to unknown regions. Is Thrawn on that ship?
On the Eclipse?
Actually, we don't know. He might not be. He's dead.
Yeah, he might be very dead by that point.
Well,
yeah, I don't know. Have we seen other Chiss besides Thrawn?
No, I haven't. Have you?
No, I don't think I remember any. So, there's rumors that he's from out there.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I wouldn't mind it, but then there's a lot of explanation as to how he got here, which I guess will be covered in the book if that's the case. No, I don't think Thrawn is on that ship. I think he's gone by this point. I think he's too important in the Imperial Navy to have not been at those meetings on Akiva, in the first Aftermath book. So I think he's gone by that point.
Okay, here's Gallius Rax.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of think we know what happens to him, but he has those sentinels, right? The sentient beings with him that dress very similar to how he dresses at times, with the red outfits and all that.
There were battle droids down there in his in the bunker on Jakku.
Mm-hmm. But doesn't he have like beings like him that look like him? Is he dead for sure? Is what I'm saying. Was that a decoy?
Oh,
Gallius Rax.
Well, you're right. I never thought of a decoy. Like the Rax that Sloane fought is very dead. I mean, she shoots him like multiple times. But you're right. There could be, he could be pulling a Saddam Hussein and just decoying everybody. That's a good point.
Do you like that idea though? I think it's lame.
I think it's kind of a cop out to have. I mean,
don't kill him off and then be like, oh, guess what? We didn't actually kill him.
He's a decoy.
Although this is Aftermath, and that's the Nora Wexley storyline. So you can. Like, how many times did she have to almost die? It got to the point where I stopped caring. I was like, she'd be fighting somebody. I'm like, skip.
Yeah.
Don't care. Don't care.
No, if he comes back, I don't know if I'd be crazy about that. They would really.
Yeah. And what's the point of him coming back? He's not like, even if he was, then it would make Snoke lame. I think,
exactly.
You've diminished a lot. So okay, so we'll keep it with Rax is dead. But Old Republic, could Snoke, and you say this on your vote of no confidence, could Snoke be a remnant of the Old Republic? And in that, could he somehow have ventured out into the unknown regions from the Old Republic into the unknown regions? Maybe got banished or stuck out there. Is there anyone from Legends that would fit that description? Anybody?
No.
Know anything from Legends that might?
The only Old Republic characters I know of are from the games, and no, nobody really fits that bill. But
so let's say Snoke possibly gets banished out there, and he's calling out or something.
If I was to put money on Snoke being a remnant of the Old Republic, I would actually put my money on the fact that he was originally from that second galaxy, from the unknown regions, and at some point billions of years ago, he came to our galaxy in the same way that apparently, aliens came to the Egyptians and taught them how to build pyramids and such. And then he came and he did something and he showed the galaxy something that he knew, and then he vanished again. And he's like, I'll be back. And then he went back to his unknown regions. And then, obviously, thousands and thousands of years pass. Palpatine, who is super strong on the dark side, starts feeling the call of this thing and is like, I recognize that this is something that has been here before and will come here again, but I want to go to it. I don't know. But I think if I had to put money on Snoke being Old Republic in origin, I would say that he didn't originate from the galaxy that we know.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I just brought that up to tie it to Old Republic
Right.
that way.
Right. But that could explain, like, he could have started the Sith Order for all we know. He could have been the one to be like, hey, or started a order that, you know, uses the Force or worships the Force. It could have come from him. Maybe he dictated the wills to some monks and they wrote it and it's all from him.
That would be cool if he was the one that wrote the wills and it was all maybe like a trick.
Right.
Right? Like, oh yeah, this one will bring balance to the Force.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But then is Snoke too powerful if he's that guy?
Yeah, in that case, like, how the hell are they going to beat him?
Maybe you don't beat him. Maybe you join him.
Oh, shit.
Everything's dark. Star Wars is over. How do you beat Snoke if you make him that guy? Like what?
Unless he's like a charlatan, where he came up with these things to get people to worship him and give him power, but he was just pulling them out of his ass. And then they found sources later on in history, like they would find Anakin, for example, be like, oh, he fits this thing that this guy said once, so he must be that. It's not like Snoke knew ahead of time. It's just that, you know, serendipitous things happened that fell in line with what he claimed.
And a lot of people do have that feeling that Snoke reminded them of like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have that? Do you believe in that?
Yes.
You think so?
I think he's I wouldn't be surprised if he was actually like Yoda sized. If he was like a small
Really?
guy.
Oh, well, I've heard that he's actually there's reports that he's supposed to be 9 feet tall without the hologram.
Yeah, I've heard those too, and I'm
like,
I'm
wouldn't
cool
that be cool? Because then he would be the opposite of Yoda, right? So
Yeah.
Yoda's really short, then he'd be really tall, and he's dark, and Yoda's light.
I'm cool with that, and
But you think he's Yoda size?
I wouldn't. When I first watched Force Awakens, that was what I pictured, like this little gremlin guy, like lying on a hospital bed, like on life support, and he's just projecting his image because he's like dying.
I would agree with.
Yeah,
like he's kind of like trading.
Yeah,
that's my dead guy impression.
True. And
I use the dark side, Kylo. I don't know why he sounds like that. Whatever.
If somebody talked like that to you, would you listen to them, James?
No, but I'm also not an evil person.
That's true. Well, we don't know that.
Yeah, well, I would totally wear that mask. Wear this mask. All right.
When I was reading, I recently picked up the Art of books for Force Awakens and Rogue One, and there's like one little page with a Snoke bust that they built in the Art of Force Awakens, and one thing that I thought was really interesting, and I hope this shows up when we see him in person, was his clothing was not a black robe. It wasn't the generic thing. It was actually like this, like white, beige-ish colored looking kimono kind of robe thing.
Like Prince Caesar.
Like Prince Caesar, but a little less exotic, like a little more, almost like a bathrobe, but like a bathrobe like a billionaire would wear. And it was like sort of the color of this wall with like really intricate patterns on it. And I was like, what a cool costume for a villain that's not just like black robe, you know? So I hope when we see him, he's actually wearing that. He's actually rocking one of those.
That'd be really cool. I'd be down for that because we've seen the other thing before, and then it contrasts to light and the dark. What if Snoke is like Palpatine's second family? Like Palpatine was an emperor who cheated on his empire with another empire, and he has a second empire somewhere else, and Snoke is like the Vader over there, or something like that over there, and that's how they're connected.
That would be really interesting. So like Palpatine succeeded in making another empire in another galaxy.
He didn't tell anyone though.
Oh damn!
Because his point is maybe that other galaxy where Snoke is from was the first empire. Then Sheev, good old Sheev, came over here and started his new one here, which I don't know works out because he's from Naboo. But anyway, whatever. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But what if that is his bastard family on that side, and they're like, guess what? We're coming for you because he didn't finish it over here.
But now that he's gone, do they still want revenge?
No, well, they want to take over this galaxy.
Oh.
They don't want revenge. They want
everything.
Domination. But then why is it just Snoke?
Maybe it's not just Snoke. Maybe Snoke is that Palpatine over there, and the Knights of Ren were that Vader. And he's bringing that over to this side. Who knows? There's so much.
Yeah, it could have been that this dark side that's calling out to Palpatine it could be a trick too, or have no bearing on anything whatsoever. The dark side was born from, or the First Order was born from the darkness. What does that mean?
I would say it's coming from Snoke, who is, as far as I think we're concerned, really part of the Whills, or the dictator of the Whills, or a Will, who knows? But I think that the Force, the earliest incarnations of the Force, came from whatever Snoke brought to the table, and or whatever the unknown regions brought to the table. And the First Order was created from the dark side of that coming back to our galaxy. Or their galaxy, I should say. We don't live there.
Interesting. So we're both kind of in agreement that Snoke is something ancient. Yeah. I know one of our viewers, Winter Star, says that she believes he comes that he's actually not that old. That he saw the rise and fall of the Empire, but never mentions anything before that.
That's true. That's very true.
So see, there's a question, because I don't think anyone really, I mean, I'm sure some people have, but a lot of people just think, oh, Snoke's been around forever, he's got to be 1 billion years old, look at him. But now it's like, well, he might only be 40.
Yeah, that's true. He might just be, Uncle Owen.
Yeah. Oh, you just blew my mind.
Somebody's got to work on those moisture evaporators. That's why he wants to find Luke so badly.
Snoke. Okay, the rise and fall of the Empire. Let's say Snoke. Let's go now and say Snoke started at that point. How? There's so much. I don't even know. Snoke is such a confusing character. Because the problem with he's a confusing character because we know nothing about him.
Yeah.
We know that he says, "What girl?
Bring
her to me."
And if his origins are from where we're hypothesizing,
yeah, for the sake of this podcast, let's go with this is where he's from. He's ancient. We'll go with that for this.
Yeah, fair enough. So if that's where his origins are from, then that makes it even more confusing because it's a corner of the universe that we don't know anything about yet, other than speculation too. So it's speculation on top of speculation. We can only assume things at this point. Like I said, I believe Last Jedi is going to be very. It's going to give us a lot of information about the past.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of Kit Fisto.
Oh, it damn well better be a lot.
It's going to be a lot of Kit Fisto going on in Plo Koon. I think it's going to mostly be about Kit Fisto and Plo Koon, which is a movie I'm clamoring for.
Make it happen and make it 3.5 hours long.
Not one I would watch for 3.5 hours, and I would say give me a sequel.
It's like Lethal Weapon with those two, and their Joe Pesci is Watto.
You're just like, I want that T-shirt. I need a T-shirt like that right now. That's what I want. That would be the greatest thing ever.
Whatever you want, Leo gets.
This is taking a turn for the worst. Rae Sloane went to the unknown regions, found a darkness out there, was drawn to it. The whole ship went in. Snoke came into the ship, said everyone has to worship him or die. Brendol Hux and Rey said no. He killed them both. General Armitage Hux was like, "Yo, bro, I'm your whatever you want, I will do. Mm-hmm. I'm a leader." Because if his dad's as big a dick as he is, Armitage is a huge dick.
Yeah,
and he just wants power, right? So he's like, "Fine, I'm with you," because Armitage isn't a leader, but he wants power, and I think he knows that, and I think that's the kind of character he is. Where he knows he can never be the top dog, but he can be this guy right here,
right,
with the power trip.
He's in a safe little trench where he doesn't have to worry about anything. Yeah.
So he sees Rae Sloane and Brendol die. He's like, "Fine, let's do it." And then Snoke's like, "Okay, but in order for us to succeed, we need this and we need this and keep." And he's like, "And what do you know?" And then he can give his father's information, and then maybe that's how the First Order came to be.
And that's so simple that it could absolutely work.
And you don't need to explain that in a movie.
Yeah. Like that whole story.
We got you pinned.
Exactly. Lucasfilm Story Group. Seriously. Here you go. There you go. Take it. Like that whole story you described could play out like, yeah, I can see it happening in a book, and it could play out like one of the Aliens movies. Like they're just on the ship with just Snoke hunting them down one by one.
Oh I want that movie. I want that Netflix. Ooh. Netflix movie. A Netflix movie.
It's called I Ain't Snoking Around.
Snoketacular. Snoke and Kit Fisto. They have to team up to try to save Plo Koon. It's just mechanic. I don't know why Lucasfilm has not contacted us for these ideas. I mean,
it's coming. It's in the mail.
And these stories are also, just so everyone's okay with this, they're all told by R2-D2. Yeah.
He's got it in his memory banks. He's the one who knows.
He's the one that's sharing all this information. Okay, final thoughts.
I love your idea that you just brought up. Snoke coming on there.
Kit Fisto.
It's a great way to end Sloane's story, to end Brendel's story, and to witness the transition from the last of the Empire to the beginnings of the First Order.
And it's kind of a sad ending for Rae Sloane.
Absolutely.
As well. Yeah. But it's one that's fitting almost, where it's like she wants power. And what happens to people that want ultimate power? They die. They always die, and it's always a horrible death. Yeah. And it usually comes by somebody that's more powerful, because as good as you are, as powerful as you are, there is always someone out there that is more powerful than you.
That's just how it works, kids.
So Luke, be careful. Ray's more powerful than Luke.
I hope they don't fight.
Luke and Rae?
Yeah.
No,
I hope there's like an hour-long scene where they're just like playing Monopoly in a cave.
That's actually, it's Star Wars Monopoly. She's like, "Where's my figure? Where am I?" You know what? I used to think that she was going to go dark. There's a lot of hate in her, a lot of darkness in her. And I said from the first trailer for The Force Awakens, when she fires the gun, so the third trailer, whatever that one was, I said, "Oh my God, look, she's got like she has a lot of anger and hate in her." But now, I mean, when we talk about this and we start breaking these things down, it makes less and less sense for her to turn dark. Like, and the thing is, when we talk about all of this, where does she fit in and turning dark? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It might be, and we've seen it happen with Anakin, and it happened with Ben. How many times is this guy going to turn dark? You know, how many times are we going to have to see this happen? And people have brought up maybe Kylo's going to be redeemed and be light. And it's like, I really like that idea, but also, how many times are we going to see that happen? I like the idea that he's going to stay balanced, but I really want to know how Snoke, first of all, saw him when he was in his mother's womb, because Leia says she's weird. Right, so there's something more to Snoke, and that's why I think either we said this on the very first Unleashed when we did the Empire's End review, where maybe he is a fallen angel type character, or just pure dark side that kind of goes in and hovers around the light, you know, and kind of like sneaks up, and he's like, that. And he's manifesting himself, which I speak with Rob on Unleashed from the other week. That's an idea too, where he's trying to take over Kylo Ren's body, but that's another discussion that we have. So there's a lot of ideas of who is Snoke, but there has to be something to him that we're missing. Well, there's probably a lot to him that we're missing because of what Leia says about him, and Leia knows who he is, and Han knows who he is from that deleted scene in The Force Awakens where all the stormtroopers come to him in Maz's castle, and they're like, "You're under arrest from Supreme Leader Snoke," and he goes, "Smoke? Who?" Which is a weird scene. It's one of those ones that you watch, you're like, yeah, no, got that. I know why you cut that out.
Everything Ford that was just him on
he was like,
which movie am I in again?
Where's my hat? You don't wear a hat.
It's just the one with the Holy Grail.
Get off my plane. There's something to Snoke. Even if we were all able to get all of our brains together and pick it apart and come up with what we believe Snoke could be, there's probably something that we're missing, and that's why those post-it notes are making the rounds of your Snoke theory sucks.
Exactly. At the end of the day, though, I'd be happy with any of the things we brought up. You know, I can't wait to see what he looks like, and I can't wait for the Hasbro 6-inch Black Series figure of him, because I am going to eat that up.
Good luck getting a copy of it.
Oh my God, I can't even get Hux. I can't even get a Hux toy. What the hell, Hasbro?
We'll get him a Star Wars Celebration.
We better.
We won't, probably. Do you have the Hux? Is there Hux Funko Pop?
There is. I'm looking at it right now. Oh, I don't have it though. No.
You should get that.
But I want the 6-inch Black Series. Rob has the.
Rob,
has the
of
Hux.
course, Rob. Rob has every single Funko Pop that you can get.
Rob, I'll trade you a group of a bunch of bananas.
I'll get you chocolate covered almonds. Rob got me
top
this
that.
General Grievous for my birthday. I love Grievous.
Grievous
There's
is
a Qui-Gon apparently as well, which I would totally get into because Qui-Gon is Rey's father.
I knew it. And Snoke. And Sloane. Qui-Gon's got. He wears many hats.
Final thing before we say goodbye. Are there too many questions asked in The Force Awakens?
By us? Yeah, sure.
No, but you leave the theater. Who's Snoke? Who's Rey?
I think those are the big two. I think who's Snoke and who's Rey, and maybe like what's the deal with the Knights of Ren? Those are the big ones that really.
This is where I will say no to that, in that we fans know the Knights of Ren, but the average movie-going audience does not give a crap.
That's right. They're a throwaway reference. Yeah.
I mean, I think they're going to be really cool, and I think after Last Jedi, I think that's when we might be like, we want more Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
Right now, though, I would say for us, yes, that's a big question, but for the average viewer, it's not. It's just a throwaway line to give Kylo Ren a name, so that they can, just so that he's not called Ben Solo or Organa or whatever they want to call him. Are you done?
I think I am.
All right, that's our show.
Let's put the leash back on.
We were unleashed. Now we're putting the leash on. I'm gonna take Andrew for a walk, and because he's asked to do his thing.
I got some business to take care of.
I'm James. This is Andrew. Thanks a lot for watching Unleashed. We'll see you next time. And as always, may the force of others be with you.
Always.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.